Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. The Veyron Showdown is now on, and I've been tackling this utilizing the Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse. I have the advantage of being able to test out different cars before I came down and selected which one I'm going to focus on for the build. And it turns out the Vitesse for the average guy is probably the easiest Veyron to use. The reason being the Vitesse does not require the nitrous to be launched with the second gear. It also has a relatively slower third gear, which you want to ride all the way near red line and getting an almost perfect shift, and then basically deep early perfect to deep good shifts on the later ones. As you can see, I'm giving these WRE guys a little bit of a headache because I can consistently drive this car in the 7.5 range, despite the fact that I don't have an iOS device and I don't have the advantage, generally speaking, of the quicker shifts and more consistent launch techniques. So as an average driver, I'm actually doing quite well against some of the better drivers in this game. And that is why the Vitesse is actually a good Bugatti to build for this purpose. Now, that being said, Showdown is very difficult for a beginning player. You have to understand that the way Natural Motion has these events set up for Showdown is they expect you to only be able to get far if you have a maxed car. And it's based on trophies, not dyno. So the fact that you dyno 15 doesn't mean you won't run into a 7.5 second guy somewhere along the line. So if you're not a fully maxed car, you're going to struggle quite a bit with this, and you're unlikely to make it into the higher rankings. But if you're pushing for higher rankings, and if you're willing to burn the bronze keys and transfer the fusions as needed to get the Vitesse built, fully maxed, the Vitesse actually for most of the players I think would be the best choice over the WRE. I even stripped the WRE when I get to 1200, and that unfortunately did not give me more stage 6s, although it did give me a decent amount of epic fusions. That being said, as you can see, 7.5s, if you can run them consistently, you will get pretty far in Showdown. However, that means the people that are running 7.8s, 8.2s, 9.2s, you're not going to get as far. There's a movement among the players to try to lose races after they hit 1200. That is a obviously workable technique, and it would help some players out if they happen to be near 1200 and you happen to be the one losing. Another technique, which I think is probably what's going to happen, is the players with the max cars should keep pushing. You should go beyond 1200 and into the higher rankings, thereby opening up the lower ranking to slower cars and letting them being able to actually progress to 1200 without having to deal with a bunch of guys running 7.5s. So neither technique is a bad idea. Ultimately, how we go about this is up to individual players. I hope more people do get the WRE. It is an opportunity. And I have a feeling as we progress further into this Bugatti event, things are only going to get tougher. As you can see again, 7.5s, any 7.5 runs will give even the WRE guys a hell of a headache because their car is actually harder to drive. I'll be honest, I tested the Veyron. I actually got to 1200 with the Veyron, but it was a struggle because oftentimes I'll screw up and I don't run as well as I could with the Vitesse. So transferring and moving to the Vitesse was a good move on my part. I'm quite happy with this decision. Now I'm going to stop right now at 1600. It's a good place to be for at least today. I think every day for the next 7 days or 6 days this event runs, I'm going to have to come back and continue to push a little bit. Remember, consistency is almost as important as being able to run good times. If you're consistently in the 7.5s, you will win hopefully more than you will lose, and you will slowly climb. You don't have to worry about losing a race here and there. You just want to be able to win at least a little more often than you're losing, so you're steadily climbing. And that goes for even the guys that are struggling to try to get to 1200. If you're taking more than 1 or 2 losses in a row, take a break, back off, wait a little bit and see if the field changes. Hopefully, as days go by, more and more of the faster cars will get into the 1300s, 1400s, and then the 1200 range will open up much more. At least that's my hope, because that's my plan to do that with my second account, which certainly doesn't have a max car, and I want to see how far I can push. Don't forget also to collect those crates, and if you have bronze keys, pull them. But also understand that this entire Bugatti event essentially comes down to having 6 built Bugattis, some of which are purple stars. That's 800 plus fusions spread between those cars if you're trying to max them all. That is simply not a realistic goal. So be realistic about how far you're going to get and which cars you're going to go after. If you're looking to go after the 300, building the Veyron right now too far may not be to your benefit. You may want to actually hold on to those epics and spread them out around to when you really need them when you're going for the 300. But remember, the 300 is going to require you to buy 2 paid-for cars, the Devo and the La Vitesse, I think it's called. So keep that in mind. And if you're a free-to-play player, do what you can to get to 1200, get that WRE, but be realistic about how far you're going to get. All right, so I'm going to go back to Garage and do some live racing instead. I just wanted to give you my little tidbit about Showdown, and I will continue to update as to how far I ultimately get with this Showdown. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.